Hey everyone, it's Raimi from the Dad Batch and behind the scenes button pusher for Off the Rack Rebellion. First off, a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you for being a loyal watcher or listener of the show. Knowing that you enjoy the content we're producing is what helps motivate us to keep putting new episodes out each week. So again, thank you. I wanted to pop in and give our friends at Heroes and Villains a quick shout out. And no, they don't pay us to advertise for them. They're just genuinely nice guys, and we believe in what they're doing over there. And we wanted to see them continue to bring awesome pop culture gear to fans just like us. Here on Off the Rack Rebellion, Kate and Billy talk every week about finding real world clothing that would fit into the Star Wars galaxy. And that's the same design philosophy that Heroes and Villains uses when they approach every new line. They don't just slap a giant logo on a t shirt and call it done. They ask their designers to put themselves in the minds of the characters being represented and ask, what would they be wearing in the universe they're in? What would Wolverine's hoodie look like? What kind of jogging gear would the Bad Batch wear? What kind of bomber jacket would an off duty TIE pilot have? And their designs aren't over the top either. They're detailed enough to satisfy the fan in all of us, and subtle enough to fit perfectly into that if you know zone too. Because we believe that our audience and the Heroes and Villains lines are such a perfect match, we talked the Heroes and Villains folks into giving us a discount code. So head on over to heroesandvillains.com and load up your shopping cart with stuff for your family, friends, and of course yourself. And use the code DADBATCH at checkout to get 20% off. Again, that's DADBATCH, all caps and all one word at checkout to get 20% off your order. It's a one use per customer code, so make sure you make that order count. Thanks again for listening to me ramble. Now let's enjoy this week's episode of Off the Rack Rebellion.
This resistance.
Welcome back to Off the Rack Rebellion, the podcast where we talk about costuming and taking everyday finds to fit them into your everyday cosplay looks. Hello, Billy. How are you doing?
Hi, Kate. Welcome back, everyone.
Thank you. This is getting into like the second hour of us like being together, so we get a little goofy, which is perfect.
Yeah. Someone, who was it that mentioned they were like, "Oh, you guys aren't getting the giggles anymore," and it's like, well, you're not in backstage, so.
Right.
This episode is the Great Greebly Debate.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel like which is one of the most contended debates in all of Star Wars next to like,
Right.
which is the best movie and all that stuff.
And I think the debate starts with what you call it, right? That's why I included like the
Yes.
definition of it on the top
Yes.
of our notes, because some people say Greebles, totally fine. Some people say Greeblies. I like how it sounds, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And
other people also call them Nernies.
Nernies. Oh my gosh. Whoa, that just totally blew my mind. I hadn't heard that one actually, which is kind of funny. Wow,
Yeah.
Nernies.
Nernies.
Each of them is what is it? Is it an onomatopoeia that is a word that makes it like power bam that like makes the sound, or is that the backward? So
Right.
either of them is like a very
describes...
like greeble, or like nerny. Sorry, I have a small child.
I think it comes from, it comes from people not knowing like what to call the thing. Like, oh, that means like a little, like, like a little greeble, like a little
thing.
nerny,
Yeah.
a little something there.
I first came across the term years ago there was a Star Wars magazine. Do you know what I'm talking about? And Anthony Daniels had a column in it.
No.
And oh God. Okay. So I swear now I'm gonna have to fact check. Somebody fact check me quick. So I swear there was a Star Wars magazine and I came across there was like a regular article by Anthony Daniels. And one of my friends from childhood, his dad had owned a comic book shop like before they moved to the town that we grew up in. And so he had just boxes and boxes of stuff that his dad had like kept or then he kept. So I think I used to read old this is all coming back to me. I'm like, we're talking like sixth grade. What are you like 12 in sixth grade? I'm like remembering all this stuff. And so I saw the word in print the first time. I know that is a fact. I remember seeing, and I was like, so I was always like, was I saying this word? Because I do that all the time. Does anyone else do that?
Which one did you see?
I swear it was Greebly. I think that's just what I put in my head, and I'm like,
Greebly
was it
IE.
spelled? But was it spelled Greeble? And I just started saying Greebly. Was what
Hmm.
I'm like all these years later. I'm like, was it me? Did I do it? Like,
Hmm.
am I just
It is
misreading
an old
something?
industrial light and magic thing. I think that's where it was
Oh, okay,
born and
okay,
bred. Yeah.
gotcha. Okay,
Adam Savage, who was like an
yeah.
alum from
Mm-hmm.
Industrial Light and Magic, he tells a great story. It's on YouTube. I'm pretty sure if you
Okay,
look up Adam Savage Greebly or Adam Savage
okay,
history of Greebly or something, he
okay.
does a great like thing where he mentions Nernies
Fantastic.
as well, and the universal Greebly, which is a
Okay.
specific like tank part from these things. So he gives a great
Oh,
like
oh,
the
okay,
history of it or where it came from, and it's just that people didn't really know what to call this little area of
okay.
interest, this little added, you know,
Yes.
that adds a little soupçon to
Textural.
your, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Oh man.
so the definition here, or what I, if you can call it a definition, is that they
Yeah.
are parts harvested from plastic modeling kits, which is what they did,
Mm-hmm.
to build the Death Star, to build the
Mm-hmm.
Millennium Falcon, to be applied to an original model as a detail element. It's the
Okay.
practice of using parts in this manner is called kit bashing, and we know kit bashing.
Yeah.
Many of our friends do
Mm-hmm.
great kit bashing, and it's just taking parts of things, cutting things up, changing them around, flipping them
Yeah.
around, using them upside down, using them on their side, and sticking them onto other things
Mm-hmm.
to add a visual sort of dimension to it. Sometimes it's to
Yeah.
break up light as well in
Yeah.
filmmaking. It's you just kind of you know little tidbit.
Yeah. Little tricks. So what
Yeah,
does Adam Savage, which word does he prefer? Does he have a preference?
I think he says Greeble.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
Well, I
but
feel
I
like he
think
might.
he does mention that Greebly was the wider used one,
Oh, okay.
but
Okay. Gotcha.
it's a made up word, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah. Right.
All words are made up, really, but
Well,
like, yes,
goes
but
back to the whole like this whole thing is made up,
yeah,
right? Like when
yeah,
people get in really heated debates over
yeah.
whatever, and it's like, you remember this is all fictitious.
But
But okay,
I
here we
think
are.
he uses Greeble. Yeah,
Okay, wow, gotcha. I just feel like Greebly just kind of rolls off my tongue a little differently than
yeah,
Greeble, but
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, maybe it's like a potato
I
potato.
To me it feels like different types of words. Like, to me,
Okay.
greeble feels like the like a verb, like to
Mm,
greeble
to
that, like I'm gonna
Greeblies. Okay.
greeble this prop
Yes.
with Greeblies.
With Greeblies. Oh, I see. Or I even see it as a Greeble being kind of like a larger one, and then Greeblies like, oh, it's
Okay,
the mini ones, the teeny tiny.
okay,
I can see it in
well,
both
you
ways,
see,
right? Like
it could
we
be,
all interpret it. We all
it
interpret
totally could
differently, right?
be, it totally could be.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. Okay. So the debate starts with the name, but then extends
Right.
upon like the usage as well.
The usage, yes, I think we talked about this a little while ago. The difference between like a greebly and a prop, right?
Yes.
Where I think a prop has a more active role, while
Yeah.
a greebly has more of a passive role.
I could
Would
see that.
you?
I
Yeah.
can see that. A prop, I also kind of feel like it's something that you might use with your hands, whereas like
Okay.
the greebly or greeble is more of like a little icing on something, right? It's a little
Right.
and yes, you might have a backstory as to like, oh, this is like whether it's a badge or whether it's like, oh, this is a
Mm-hmm.
comm or whether it's like something that looks like a fan that you might stick on to
Mm-hmm.
something and stuff like that. But I feel like the prop is kind of this utilitarian piece that you
Yeah.
could manipulate more with your hands. I don't know.
Right.
That's yeah.
Yeah. I like to think of it also like I can't. I can't hot glue a prop to a prop. I mean, I can,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
it's
Yeah,
probably unadvisable,
that's true.
right? To hot glue a prop to a prop, but I can
Okay.
hot glue a greebly to a prop. You
Yes,
know what I
there we
mean?
go.
I'm
Yep,
using
I
hot
get
glue
it.
as like just like a
I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's something
I'm
that
getting this
adds
visual of
to
like a lot of hot glue.
just yeah, just strings of it and like
Yeah.
binoculars with like a blaster on the side, all hot glued, just big and just unwieldy. Like you can't hold it real right
Oh
anymore.
yes. Oh yes.
Um, Yeah, I think it's like, right, it's something that you add on while a prop is like a finished like object,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I could see
Yeah,
that
it
for
might have
sure.
Greeblies on it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're almost like the barnacle on the ship, you know what I mean? They're
Yes.
almost like something that's just kinda
Yeah.
it's added on the outer layer for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so do you have Greeblies? Like, what is your preferred application
I
of your
like
costuming of a
I like a
Greebly?
chest comms.
Yeah, okay.
I like a transponder, which like
Yeah.
supposedly then connects to either a wrist communicator or a handheld communicator, like we
Okay.
see,
Yeah,
in many
nice.
different places, right? I prefer the
Yeah.
handheld, but I do like a wrist as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Either or. But supposedly that's a supposedly, right? It's it's what connects you to your
Allegedly.
ship allegedly.
Okay.
It's what
Okay.
connects you to your ship or you to your team, you know.
Oh, yep. Mhm. Yeah,
And then
definitely.
the speaky into part is what you actually speak into. That's the
Yes.
mic. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little comm link. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it's funny, I have a lot of Greeblies, and some of them I mean, like, a lot of them came from friends, and then I picked up some for our first trip to Batu, and then I think every year my husband's just looking for random things to put in my stocking, and he's just like, "Greeblies." So I
Greeblies.
have a lot of Greeblies now,
I
um,
do.
which is funny because Ian's definitely giving me a hard time. Actually, last year, it was a running joke between the 2 of
Yeah.
us about how I wouldn't wear them very much, and so I just, like,
Yeah.
decked out one day, and I was just like, "Yeah, there we go."
I mean, okay, well,
Um,
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're from the school of like, I think we're both kind of cut from the same cloth. We are like
yeah.
brother and sister of
Yeah,
Star
we are
Wars,
space
right?
siblings,
And
absolutely.
like, I do believe that like if you're putting together a costume or an outfit or whatever, a Batu bound, like it should read as Star Wars before you start adding any of this other stuff, because that
Yes.
stuff isn't gonna save.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you can't
you
add those
can't
to,
wear
like, a pair of cargo jeans pants and make it
you
look Star Wars,
you
right?
can't wear a basketball jersey and
Yes.
basketball shorts and put a Greebly on it and it's Star Wars, right? Like
Yes.
it doesn't work, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So it
this
shouldn't be the
you're
thing that
missing the main point. Yeah.
it shouldn't be the thing that you use to make your outfit Star Wars. It should be
Yeah.
the thing that like adds to it, right?
Yes. I also because I go around in a lot of my looks all the time, it's like I
Hmm.
definitely would just leave them off because I was like, I look Star Wars enough. And the interesting thing
Right.
is, so yeah, we are right. We are in the less is more camp, the two of us. And I know that there are people who are in the more is more. I think Ian just likes to pull my chain a lot. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was just inside
He's a
joke.
jokester.
But I was definitely a jokester. But like I think you're right. It is that initial like you're so excited about the item because you've mentioned this, like that you just want to put a Greebly on it, and then you're so excited about your next item, your cap or whatever you want to put one on. Um, and it can definitely run into you've got too much going on. I definitely realize that I'm using them, I think, a little more liberally than you are even. Like I'll be like, oh, I don't know, I've got this weird little spot. I want to cover up this
Yeah.
logo and I'll put it on.
Oh yeah. Well, it's perfect for that as well,
It is, yeah, true. But I'll be like,
Yeah.
it's on my hip bag in a weird spot. But so
Yeah.
what I try to do is like the ones I do wear, I do try to have like a little like, oh, well, maybe this is a such and such. Yeah, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, who knows what they are, but
Right.
we kind of tell ourselves these stories about like, there is one that's up on my hat, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of like little cooling device in my hat because people in Star
Okay.
Wars are always wearing so many clothes.
Yeah.
Like maybe, but it is true. Like, it's like, okay, well, what's the purpose of this? Like,
Yeah.
why is this on? And I was looking through photos, like, in the original trilogy, you're not seeing a lot, especially on
Mm,
the main characters. They're not wearing them. Like you might
mhm.
see them on walls, you might see them. Han Solo's got some interesting stuff kind of on his belt, but I don't think they're
Right.
necessarily these like kind of square rectangular Greeblies. I think
Those are his
they're more
like
cylinder, aren't they?
magazines or whatever for his
Yeah, for
blaster.
his blaster. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're kind of different. So then I guess that is a question, is that a prop or is that a Greebly? Like,
I
it's
would
kinda
I
like
would
that would be
I
a
would say
prop,
that's a prop.
right?
Yeah.
Prop, yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
I've got a couple
That
things from
works as a belt Greebly. It's very weird, right?
right.
It's nebulous. We're in a
It's
nebulous
like a
space,
Venn
but
diagram, right?
I think it has like a very like an actual purpose. The fact that
Yes.
it's not being used because we never really see him change a magazine of his blaster, but those
Yes.
are the magazines
Yeah.
to his blaster. It is part of his prop, but it's
Mhm.
adding a visual, like,
Yeah.
you
Little
know,
something, something,
to
right?
the belt, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, then you see the X-wing pilots with their cylinders like on their calf, and
Hmm.
the you see the Empire, they've got things tucked in. I mean, they've got their badges, like
Oh
they
yeah, they've got
stand
their
out.
code cylinders. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they've got their code cylinders. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's really I think once you start to get into maybe more of like I don't know, maybe like some bounty hunters or something like that, you're starting to see a little bit more on belts and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
not quite
they've got
Greeblies,
much
right?
more. Yeah, they've got much more gear, and I would even say
Yeah.
that like code cylinders and things like that can sort of float in that nebulous space
Mhm.
where you wear them for the Han Solo has
Mhm.
like in his
Yeah.
later
Mhm.
depictions, he has that jacket that's got like I don't know,
Yes.
like three or four of them tucked in to his jacket, to
Yeah.
his brown jacket. When he
Yeah.
goes to see Leia again after not seeing her for
Yep.
so long.
Mm.
Where oh, that was so sad. I was like, why don't you just go home? I'm sorry. Like, just go home and see your wife. No problem.
Talk to a therapist. It's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. Well, they'll do anything but talk to a therapist. Like,
I know. Where are the intergalactic relationship therapists in this
you're gonna
anyway?
go hunt rathars before going to see a therapist? Like, come on. Anyway, sorry. Go talk to somebody.
Could do
Um,
a whole episode
your
on
son is bad. Like, go talk
yeah.
to somebody about it. It's obviously weighing on you. No. But so those are, we don't know what the function is of those. They're obviously not
Yeah.
pens, right? But
Right. I
so
think
it
that's a good
is that
idea.
nebulous space of like it's a Greebly, but also it is
Yeah.
something that would have a function. Code cylinders do have
Yes.
a function. I wear a lot of code
Yeah.
cylinders.
Yeah.
All of mine are quote unquote like stolen, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because usually they're like for access to access panels or doors. That's what the Imperials use them for. That's sort of it
Yeah.
has their
Yeah.
identification on there.
Yeah.
If they need to get into like a console or into like a door or something that's used, we don't really see it used, but that's what it's there for, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's why the higher ranks have more of them. They've got to get into more places, right?
That makes sense.
They're not going to put them on a key ring like a janitor, so they put them in the
Yeah.
nice little pockets, right?
Gotta look a little more legit. You don't want that swinging around. I
So
mean, I've had jobs where you have like a ring of keys and you make a lot of noise when you're walking around. It's not
exactly,
classy.
yeah. So my character being a spy and being a little bit of a thief, not in a bad way, but
Just pick
just
things
to
up.
gain access, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna need that later.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
um, I do wear those often, and I'm not waving them around or anything. So
Yeah,
it's that nebulous like prop / Greebly space. Yeah,
totally. Totally. I get that. Um, watches. I think
watches.
watches are a fun way, and mine isn't right now, but I do have one where I kit bashed it, right, to look a little
Yeah,
more,
yeah.
it is that in between. Is it a prop or is it a or is it a Greebly? Because I've got Greeblies on it.
Hmm. Well, yeah, because a lot of times they're the comms device as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I know
Yeah, it
as
looks
of
really good for comm.
most recently, Kay Vess from Star Wars Outlaws, her
Ah,
comm is on her wrist.
nice.
All throughout the Clone Wars, they wore their comms on their wrist
Yeah.
or a handheld one. It's kind of
Mhm.
interchangeable, but
Right.
all the Jedi, Anakin and Ahsoka, they had a tiny little sort of
Yeah.
flat pill shaped thing with one speaky into thing and one little light up thing where they would talk
When
to
are we
you.
getting to
It was a
that
wrist.
technology where I have, like, something
Yeah.
tiny? Like, oh my gosh.
Well, I guess like every time I see somebody like use an Apple Watch like the way it's
Yeah.
intended to be used, I'm
Yeah.
always like, wow, they're in the
Yeah. I know.
future.
I do
Like
it. I
that's
do it.
so
That's what
cool.
mine actually yeah, totally.
So
It was
cool.
definitely from when my little guy was very young, but he was walking, and when he was walking, he was just running all over the neighborhood, and I was just following
Yeah.
him, and I was like,
Yeah.
"I need a pickup sometimes." And so I was
Yeah.
like and I didn't have my phone. It's like, if I have a watch, it's on
Right.
me all the time, which is kinda nice. But I do feel very cool when I actually talk on it.
Yeah. Or I saw someone at the
Woo.
airport and they were scrolling through all because I use like Google Pay and I have all my cards
Yeah,
on
yeah.
there. So, you know, it
Yep.
feels really cool to sort of tap your phone.
Yeah,
But
totally.
I saw him scroll through all his cards on his phone and I was like, this guy's in the future. This guy's in the future.
Right? How
And it
great is
could
it that
be
we
right here
do
and
this?
right now.
I know, right here, right now. We're living it. Oh my God. Um, when I was going through and just taking a quick glance through the universe, I mean, there's a million Greeblies I'm sure I've missed.
Mhm,
I I feel like Andor. I feel like
mhm.
Rogue One is when we see like Cassian's got two Greeblies either side of his like he's kind of taupey khaki-ish jacket in Rogue One. I feel
Yeah,
like that to me is where they really started ramping up, and maybe I'm
right,
incorrect in this, but like on those primary characters, I feel like that's where we start seeing layers. And that's where he's got like Nemec's manifesto, and no one knew it was a manifesto, but it was like
right,
just this thing that was on his bag, and then they made a story about it. Right. I feel
right.
like I feel like that's where we start getting a lot of this like, and there's just stuff like
And
attached.
there's just stuff, yeah. But you see, I think they're still looking at the overall look, right? So he's
Yeah.
got two on his
Hmm.
chest, he's got
Yeah. Oh,
none
yeah.
anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, it's true. Very true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll defend Andor to
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
end of
No,
my
go.
days. No,
No,
no, okay. I'm
get
kidding,
it.
I'm kidding.
I love the look. I
People
know.
have I've heard people take issue with like round Greeblies that sort of kind of look like
Oh.
a fan. Um,
Oh, yes. I
I
have
like it in
one.
because it brings the spirit of kit bashing again. Because I'm pretty sure that's like a
Yeah.
computer part that like
Okay.
houses a fan.
Nice. Okay.
So that kind of I don't know. It makes
Yeah.
my synapses fire. Like I kind of
Well,
like
and we have
that stuff.
so many of the ports where you always see R2
Hmm.
putting his
Whoa,
thing in
hey,
the port,
whoa,
right?
yeah, well, hey, oh,
That
it's a
little droid,
family
my
show.
God.
I'm just kidding. He puts his yeah,
But you know, and then he like spins it and then he gets the
yeah,
codes in, right? It's like
yeah,
so whatever those are round, right? And so
yeah,
like I don't know the term for this, but like whatever he's
right.
tapping into in the whole Death Star. So I feel like it made sense to me that way. I'm like, oh, clearly they're using different ports that are round.
But would
Um,
someone need to hack into his jacket?
good point. I don't know.
I think
Maybe I should
that's where
stick that one on my
people,
wall.
yeah.
Okay.
Someone left me a comment the other day on like my Mando build, and I think one of my Greeblies that I have, Greebly on my gauntlets, right? Just
Okay.
stuff,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
There's like this what looks like a small little turbine, and they were like, "Why do you have a
Okay.
turbine on your wrist?" And I was like, I didn't even know how to respond. I was like, I don't know.
Oh
I don't
no,
know.
they
It
caught
looks
you. Oh my
really
God.
cool. I don't know
And
why I have that on there. I'm very
sometimes it is
sorry.
that because I do go back to let's go back to like the manifesto on Andor's pack
Hmm.
and Cassian's pack. It's like, did they decide all those years ago when they made that movie the
Hmm.
backstory of that thing? Or did they just lash
Hmm.
something on his pack and then later on they were like, that item, let's give a story to that item.
I
You
think
know what
it's
I
probably
mean?
more like that,
Yeah. And so I
which I
think
don't
it is
mind.
fine. Yeah, I don't either. I think it's
Yeah.
actually really creative and cool that somebody's going through there and kind of picking out something so small and being like, let's build something around this. Like it's
Yeah.
actually really big and meaningful. And yeah.
Also, the round,
Um,
like, going back to like the round Greebly, right? Like,
yeah.
what if it's a speaker?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Because
Right?
you
So you got
know,
transponder speaker and you've got your mic,
yes,
in your wrist
totally.
or handheld. So how are
In
you
case
hearing these people?
Yeah. Well, and in case they wanna go hiking, because everyone listens to frickin' speakers when they're hiking these days. Personal speakers are a thing. They're just not that
Yeah,
small yet, right? Like,
right.
sorry, drives me
So it
crazy when
could be
people are
that.
hiking. Yeah, it
Could
could be.
be.
That's a great point. They're tuning into
Yeah.
Rebel Radio or,
Yeah,
yeah, listening to they're speaking here and they're listening there. That could very well be it.
listening to Grab Your Bingo Cards, Folk the Empire, Wars,
Hey!
Oh, get your bingo
Woohoo!
cards out.
We didn't mention money in last episode, did we? I can't remember. Oh my god.
No, we
Yeah, it
didn't.
it
Oh, we
definitely could
did,
be
we did,
because
we
I mean,
did.
like okay, good. Okay, good. We always gotta drop some names. Because I mean that's a very plausible. It's very normal for somebody to have their Bluetooth speaker in their pack if they're going
Right,
somewhere, right? Or like maybe maybe
right.
that's what that is. I like that actually. I might start using that as a speaker now because I have been like I think it's from I think my round one is from Scott at Prop Right Props. Like he sent a few to me
Uh-huh.
that
Yeah.
he's made, and I think that's because I'm thinking of like the texture, and I always remember Scott has a very specific texture to his stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
We've
or
got
lack
yeah,
of because
we've
the
got
stuff is
a
sort of smooth.
lot of
Yeah.
friends that make these in-universe Greeblies, and a
Yes.
quick way to find them
Totally.
all is to go to the Galactic Mercantile Guild.
Yeah.
Just a
Woo.
shout out
Yeah.
to those
All
boys.
our friends. Hi guys. You can
Um,
all stamp your bingo card.
yeah, they're 3D printer extraordinaires, and they make
Yeah,
a lot of the
and
stuff that you see around the
painters
parks.
and yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so going back to that, there was that Greebly that was used in what was our last show? That was used in the Acolyte, right? That actually
Oh,
was a
yeah,
Greebly that a
someone's
maker had
design.
made. Yeah, which
Hmm.
I think
Years
is
ago.
years
Years
ago.
ago.
I know. I think that really just is a testament to the talent of the fan
Hmm.
makers.
Hmm.
And like, the not the fans, but the fans,
Yeah.
that
Right, right.
they're out there making things and like that it's good enough for Disney, for Lucasfilm to be like, oh, we're gonna use that.
It's
Drop
good
it
enough for them
in.
to say, I'll take that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, yeah. Yep.
I have to
Yep.
say, I forget who exactly it was. I know I follow them, but I forget exactly who it was. But they took it on the chin pretty well. That's
Mhm.
something that someone could get really upset about. Like, hey, that's my
Yes,
design. But they kind of chalked
totally.
it up to like, hey, they liked my thing enough
Hmm.
to put it in one of their shows. Like
Yeah. I
his
saw,
design,
was it the
whether
one
he's
that was
not
on
paid
the
for it,
I know, which is a bummer. I saw that as well.
but
I can't remember.
his
Yeah.
design is now like canon.
Canon. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a bragging right there, I'd say.
it is.
It was the one that was on the poncho, right?
Yeah,
Is that
on the
yeah, that's one.
civilian
Okay.
poncho. Yeah,
Right there on the
civilian
poncho.
robes.
Yeah. Oh
Dead
yeah, rope.
center. Right. They
Dead
weren't hiding
center.
it from anybody.
Right
Yeah,
there. Yeah, for sure. It's a good Greebly too, by the way, whoever it is,
it's
which I
good.
can't
It's a good
remember
one.
because I'd love to
Yeah,
stamp that bingo card, but
it's a good
um
one.
it's a really good one. Yeah, for sure.
But
Um
that's the sort of unspoken contract that we enter in when we're playing
yeah,
in their sandbox. That at any
yes.
moment, if they want to take their toys away, they can.
Yep,
And
that
that's
makes
just sort
sense.
of what we're
Yes.
doing. Like we get to sort of
Absolutely.
benefit out of it, and sometimes even monetarily benefit
Yeah,
out of
little
it. And
symbiotic
if
relationship
they
going
want to
on.
take it, they kind of can.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for sure.
We're
So,
in there. We're in their sandbox. We're not in
yes,
our sandbox. We're playing in
even
their
though
sandbox.
it's like you're playing at your grade school and you think it's yours, but really the principal's like, no,
Yeah,
mine.
exactly. Yeah,
My sandbox, my rules. You kids just get to play in it. Darn
exactly.
it. So, but Greeblies, yeah. I mean, I feel like sprinkled judiciously is more
Hmm.
impactful than the whole head to
Yeah.
toe, but yeah.
I think if you just take a look at some of the, take a look at some of your favorite characters. And when I say you, I mean the royal you. Like, take a look at like a character that you really like their look, you really like their setup. Take a look at how they're using them. And sometimes you might find that like they're using them in ways you didn't even think about. Like,
Yeah.
I recently discovered that Lando, the Donald Glover Lando,
Okay.
he has the most unique Greebly I've ever seen. And it's on his belt, and it's kind of triangular so that you can see it when you're looking down at it.
Oh.
Look really closely. It's on his
Okay, I'm
belt,
going
I
to.
think on his right side, like
Yeah.
sort of right hip ish area. It's just
Okay.
towards the front.
Okay.
Um, and it's on his belt, and it's reminiscent of like the Kira one,
Okay.
in the same movie,
Yes.
so
Yep.
someone was knocking
Mhm.
those out, like those really
Yep.
sort of like thin and longer Greeblies, in that movie were kind of a big thing. That's
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
my preferred form factors. I think they're small enough, but they take up a good amount of room. I tend to
Yes.
be a smaller Greebly kind of
Okay.
boy,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'd never seen anything like that, and I just noticed it like I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and I was like,
Okay. I'm
somebody make this because this is
I'm
amazing, and it's one that you can look down on
Hey,
because
friends.
it's on the yeah. Hey, friends, someone look at that, please, and send it to me because I just gave you an idea. Send me one.
Oh,
But his
yeah.
look
I
is
have to look
very
it
like
up.
streamlined. He's not going to
Okay.
have all that stuff on him,
Yeah. Yeah,
but he
Lando
does
wouldn't.
need
Absolutely.
utilitarianly. he does need something
Yeah.
to communicate. So that's probably his
Yeah.
transponder.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up. Well, and
Yeah.
one thing I've noticed is like the Greebly gives the purpose to me visually of like you've got cloth, you've got leather, there's something metal. And that's
Yep.
like, ooh, that's gotta be spacey. That's gotta be sci-fi if there's suddenly
Hmm.
something metal. And I feel like one thing when I was looking really quickly through is that actually a lot of the belt buckles are the flash of something metal on a lot of
Hmm.
our like face characters and a lot of our
Yeah.
main characters, like Lando and like Han. Like they've got,
Hmm.
and so while they're part of the belt, they're also almost agreeably because they're like
Yeah.
this interesting shape, this silvery texture and color and that draws the eye, and that is that little twist of like, oh, it's space, right? Like it's a weird
Exactly.
shape, it's space. And so those belt
Yeah.
buckles, so if you are looking for more of something, like don't forget about the belts. We talked about belts in another episode earlier.
Such a good
Um,
point.
but yeah, the buckle is almost agreeably. So
I agree. Yeah, I agree. That's so good. There's so many places where you can add just a little tiny bit, and I think a
yeah.
little does go a long way. And of course, like I'm coming from a place where it's like I think less is more when it
Mhm.
comes to that kind of stuff. Like, um,
Yeah.
I truly think that like a good costume, you should be able to remove all of that stuff, and it still feels like
Yeah.
very like
Yeah.
otherworldly and very in universe. And then that just adds the little. I put it on there. It adds a little
Yeah.
cherry on the sundae,
Yeah.
right?
Totally.
I
Totally.
put in my notes. You want ice cream. You don't want a bowl of cherries. You know.
That's such a great analogy. I love
Yeah.
it.
So
Or
have
like,
your ice
you're
cream and
not
then
eating the
put that
bowl of
cherry on it.
sprinkles.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not eating a whole bowl of sprinkles, although I mean my kid would, but or like you still want to be able, like me, I walk into my kid's school and the principal's like, so you're a Star Wars fan, huh?
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm not
Yeah.
wearing a single Greeley, right? It's just that
Exactly.
I look it. So
That's
yeah,
always my goal. If I can have a double glance while not wearing any kind of like
yeah,
signifier,
yeah. Where
you
somebody
know.
doesn't know if they should say something or not. They're kind of like,
Right.
is it what?
Then I feel like I'm in yours because like I started this whole thing by like wanting to like
Mm,
live like in this, in this universe, wanting to be myself
yes,
in this universe.
yes,
What would I wear to
totally.
the supermarket? I don't know. So we're always going to the supermarket, I
I know. I
guess.
was gonna
We don't really do
supermarket.
much, do we?
I mean, I'm a stay-at-home mom. This is the story of my life, please. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh shoot, I forgot to get the other thing at the grocery store. Great.
But I think that caps off Greeblies, right?
I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I'm
Okay.
I'm curious to hear like what other folks think. Are we the only minimalists out there? I don't think we're the only minimalists, but like,
No. Yeah.
like, and if you're a
I think they're out
maximalist,
there.
why? Like, what's your enlighten me? Go for
I
it.
think it's growing pains as well. I think when people start
Yeah,
off, they're like really
yeah,
excited. So I chalk it
hmm
up to like you're totally excited. I could see that. Like,
yeah,
and then you sort of get into like a
yeah,
refinement phase where you're like, oh
yeah,
wait, oh what about this? Oh, without this,
hmm
and you start to really
yeah.
kind of hone in,
Like,
and
and
it
you
always
mix and
happens that
match, right? Like
way.
some Greeblies look better with some outfits, or some, you'll
Exactly,
find that vest. You're like, oh, this Greebly like matches this vest. Yes, like
exactly,
totally. So yeah,
exactly. Now,
awesome.
here at the bottom of the show, I just would like
Yes,
to do a little note
absolutely.
here regarding the last episode, but that's okay.
Okay,
The
go for it.
Denizen of the Rims 2024 Visual Dictionary is being finalized. The Denizen of the
Yes.
Rims is a cool Discord which you can go and like talk about your builds, and it's a great resource. There's a lot of great people over there that we share a lot of like Burgundy Squadron members that also hang out over there as well. They always talk about their looks and their builds and their props and whatnot. Good resource. So they are currently, we're part of them,
You're
are
in it.
selecting the charity to support. The book is always done for charity. This is the second year running, and the book will go on sale in November. So all the proceeds will be going to that selected charity. The charity
Mhm.
isn't selected yet. In a future episode, we will have Corellia Star cosplay come on and give you the whole spiel a bit, but we wanted to sort of give it a little bit of flowers, right?
Yeah,
So it
absolutely.
features all original characters constructed by Star Wars fans across the globe. And the book is the only one to showcase the creativity of the growing original character and Denizen community. More details are coming on the Denizen and the Rims Discord and Instagram at Corellia Star Cosplay. That's all
Yes.
one word. Yeah.
Yes. Check it out. It's such a beautiful project, and it's super fun to have a book with all your friends in it, or
It
just a
looks
book
so
to go
cool.
back and look at, like, what did this person do? And it's like in this beautiful book. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
It's great. I have the first one. I mean,
mhm.
obviously, I was in it, and I
Yep.
had to
Yep.
get one immediately. And yeah, so any help that I can get, and it's for
Yep.
charity, so it's for a good thing,
Yes.
and it's a cool little
Absolutely.
book. It's going to be bigger this year. Like it's going to be,
Mhm.
bigger, better. It looks
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
You've got a character in it. Do you have
Yep.
more than one, or do you have one character in
Well, I
it?
last year I had my original character, and then this
Nice.
year I've got my Twi'lek from my
Nice.
RPG. Yeah, I'm super
Nice.
excited that she's in there. So, which
Yeah.
was a lot easier because she has a backstory. It was
Yeah.
already written out. I was like,
Oh,
yay.
great.
So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful project. Corellia Star
Yeah.
Cosplay puts in all this wonderful effort and wrangles all of
Mhm.
us constantly with the deadlines. Thank you.
Herding cats. Herding
Yes.
cats.
Lost cats, hurting lost cats.
And so, where can people find you on
Oh
the
my gosh,
internet?
I am over at One Scavenger's Wardrobe. There's underscores between the words on
You can
Instagram.
find me, Billy Maddox on Instagram. You could also find the both of us at Off the Rack Rebellion with periods in between, dots in between. And as always, thank you so much to our producer Rami and the good people over at the Dad Batch for bringing us on. And remember that a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away can be right here and right now.